Hey guys, welcome back to part 3 of this energy balance series of videos. We're going to be taking a more in-depth look at energy intake and how that plays its role in your energy balance. Energy intake and energy balance. We know by now that energy intake is the calories consumed through your food and drink intake. Energy intake is therefore the other side of the energy balance equation. So as you'll know by now, you need to have some control over the amount of energy you're consuming if you're going to achieve your goals. Calories. So we talk a lot about calories, but what are they exactly and why do they matter so much? Calories, or kcalories, which is kilocalories, indicate the amount of energy found in an item of food or drink. 1 calorie is the amount of energy needed to raise the temperature of water by 1 degree Celsius. 1 calorie is equal to approximately 4 joules, which is the metric equivalent. You'll find that kilojoules are used in some countries more than others. Some food labels you may find have kilojoules, some have calories, some will even show you both. So does 1 calorie equal 1 calorie? Are they all the same? Well, in the law of thermodynamics, which is the term for essentially energy balance, a unit of energy is simply a unit of energy. This means that 1 calorie provides the same quantity of energy, whether it's coming from ice cream or broccoli. 2 very different foods there, but we're talking about the quantity of energy. Think about travelling a 1 kilometre distance, for example. Whether you walk or drive that 1 kilometre distance, the distance you actually cover remains the same because 1 kilometre is simply the measurement of the distance. The method you choose to travel that distance is what affects how long it takes. If we think of calories, calories aren't much different to that. 1 calorie is the measurement of energy. So we're talking quantity, separate thing from quality. Therefore, technically speaking, as long as we're eating and drinking less calories than we burn each day, we can actually lose weight consuming whatever foods we want. That is correct. McDonald's, pizza, chocolate, ice cream, alcohol, literally anything, as long as energy balance is in line with our goals, we can still eat those foods and get results. However, you won't need me to tell you that there are better options, especially if we're working towards optimal health and performance. This is why we also need to consider the quality of nutrients we're consuming and the impact that they can have not only on your body composition but also overall health. So we have 2 completely different types of foods, ice cream and broccoli. These 2 foods both contain calories. However, one of them is more calorie dense while the other is more nutrient dense. Okay, and I think we know which one is which there. Energy intake and your goals. Your energy intake is the total calories consumed each day through food and drink. Creating an appropriate amount of awareness around your day-to-day calorie consumption will play a vital role in determining your diet success and therefore your body transformation results. Remember that energy balance does form the foundation of your strategy for reaching your goals. Adhering to the appropriate caloric intake for you is therefore applicable to you and your goal. Your goal may be fat loss, it may be muscle gain, or it may be maintaining your weight. Your caloric requirements will need to change based on what that goal is. And as a bit of a visual representation of that, we can see below here the middle part, maintenance diet, and the blue line across the top through all of these lines here. The blue line represents the maintenance level of eating. So in the middle, if we want maintenance weight, we also need a maintenance level calorie intake. Now, if we want a muscle gain goal and diet, then we need to add some calories on top of that maintenance. So we actually go into a caloric surplus. If we have the goal of fat loss and weight loss, then we need to subtract some calories, so we actually eat underneath the maintenance level, and that is creating a calorie deficit through your energy intake. Now, there are some important factors that we need to understand, and when we understand the different things at play with what can affect your energy intake and how we go about managing this, we can better regulate our energy balance and sway this more towards achieving the goals that we want. First of all, we're going to look at appetite. Your hormones, for a start, they regulate your hunger and satiety. So this is the feeling of satisfaction and how full you feel following a meal. Hormonal changes may occur after a sleepless or disturbed night's sleep. I think we've all experienced this when we wake up tired. We can often crave higher calorie foods and drinks. So your brain is signaling, we're low on energy, we need a pick-me-up, give us something high in calories quick. And everybody knows what that feels like, when actually this is your brain playing a little bit of a trick on you because you've been a little bit underslept or you've had a disturbed night's sleep. Your hormones have gone a little bit out of whack and you may experience some cravings due to those hormones shifting a little bit. So the hormone balance has shifted a little bit to adjust your appetite. Consuming high calorie sugary foods in isolation, if we do this too often, this results in unstable blood sugars and leads to frequent energy crashes. So this can therefore increase your cravings to eat those foods again, because we go through this cycle of energy crashes and then we chase that pick-me-up again, and the satisfaction we get through the appetite when we consume those foods. Not only that, but for women in particular, women can experience different hormonal peaks and troughs through their menstrual cycle, and that means that they may experience legitimate changes in their appetite due to an elevated metabolism at that time. So sometimes we need to be aware of this and actually honour some of those elevated cravings by just slightly increasing the energy intake to manage this appropriately. My top tip here is to try to understand your appetite as best as you can. Any triggers that you notice which may be swaying you away from making healthy, calorie-controlled choices that align with your goal, we want to try and recognise those so that we can better manage them. Next up, your environment. Now, economic and social cultural factors can heavily influence your food choices. For example, if you live with somebody who just has no interest in healthy eating, this can very easily impact your own choices and take you away from achieving your goals. It may be your shopping budget is something we need to consider, because this can play a role in the types of foods that you may have available to you. You may also be surrounded by more traditional foods from your individual culture, and it may be that some of the cooking practices and methods involve higher fat, for example, and that may not be the most healthy in terms of you reaching your goal. Overall, becoming more aware of these triggers within your individual environment is vital for your long-term success. If we can try to set up an environment which encourages you to reach your goal, and also aim to remove, or at the very least reduce, friction, okay, so things that stand in the way of you achieving your goals, if we can aim to manipulate these things and slightly change what we're exposed to, this means we can set up our environment which is therefore in a way that encourages you to reach your goals. Another important one to consider here is metabolizable energy. You are what you eat, digest, absorb, and don't excrete. So, a bit of a funny saying there, but essentially this reminds you of the importance of what your body is actually absorbing and the fuel that we put in the tank. If we can try to view healthy nutrition as a long-term investment without expecting instant results and gratification, this sets us up to be healthier long-term. Not all calories contain the same nutritional value. This is important to remember. Studies have shown for many years now that your protein and fiber intake can impact the amount of calories that you actually absorb from the food you eat. This is largely due to the thermic effect of food, because your body usually needs to work harder to digest certain types of foods, mostly whole foods. So what happens here is the net leftover calories, so the remaining calories after digestion has taken place, are slightly less because your body has to work harder to digest, use and assimilate the whole foods as opposed to processed foods. So it may be that we actually absorb more energy from more processed foods. Not only that, but disease prevention, gut health and optimal performance all rely on quality nutrition. So one phrase that I like to use when we are thinking about how we want to feel is eat good this week to feel good next week. If we can focus on real food as opposed to food products, this is going to be hugely beneficial in the long term. The more processed your food is, generally, the less healthy that food is. Next up, palatability and reward. This is an important one to get your head around. Texture, flavour, calorie density, all of these things can heavily impact your caloric intake. You'll already know how hard it is to stop eating a packet of biscuits once you've cracked them open. The reason for that is because they are high in fat and carbs, so it's a combination that makes foods very tasty and highly palatable. So this means they're super easy to eat and overeat. Manufacturers make them taste so good because they want you to actually feel rewarded when you eat them, so that you eat more of them. The problem with this is if you reward yourself too often with this type of food, you may be making it even harder on yourself to cut down on some of these foods. And if you feel these foods for you are trigger foods, we want to understand how we can better regulate these types of foods in your diet. We don't want to just rule out all of these trigger foods. We just need more understanding and more awareness about your behaviours around them. Food variety is definitely something which is key for your long-term dietary enjoyment, because we don't want to create a bad relationship with food over time. We need to understand that food is just energy, but what we eat affects how we think and feel and act. So we need more understanding around the types of energy that we eat more or less of. So if we can pay close attention to moderating those calorie dense foods, we're going to win more long term. So this will definitely help you to have more control over your total energy intake and therefore quantity of calories that you consume. One really great tip I like to recommend, if you're somebody who likes to have some treats in your diet and you can't live without some chocolate and snacks, one of the best things that you can do is try to buy pre-portioned or bite-sized pre-packaged treats. If they're individually packaged, this makes your job of portion control much easier, because we know that when that packet ends or that serving ends, that is your signal to stop eating those foods. Not only that, but they are also appropriately portioned in size and calories, so that this is therefore much easier to manage. Now, one of the most interesting ones that we need to consider and build our understanding of and our control of is definitely going to be your psychology and your emotions around your energy intake. Things like mindset, stress, your self-esteem, your emotional stability, your perceived self-control, all of these factors have the potential to make or break your dietary adherence. For example, if you don't have effective ways of managing your stress levels and your emotions, this can affect the choices that you make around food, which is therefore going to take you away from achieving your goals if we don't manage this appropriately. if you've always believed that there's no possible way you can ever get into great shape, then it's actually your limiting beliefs and your psychology around you being in good shape that creates the roadblock to you achieving your goals long term. So your consistency around dieting, it can be won or lost in your head alone. We can be trying our very best, but if we're very unstable in terms of our actions, our emotional stability, how we feel about ourselves, our perceived level of control, these things will slowly eat away at your ability to stay on track and mentally and emotionally focus on the decisions that you need to make to achieve your goal. So to get around this, we want to, as often as possible, try to remember that we are seeking to achieve a goal. So trying to use a goal-driven and logical approach to the challenges that arise around food. Not only that, but remind yourself, why is it important that you stay on track? Because this can enable you to then follow up by making the right choices that actually align with your goals. It can be important to remember that nobody gets into great shape by accident. So this can be a reminder that actually we need to start acting like somebody who is fitter, stronger, healthier, leaner, in better shape, more confident. We need to actually start acting these things long before it is possible for it to become natural to you, because we need to get well practiced in making the right decisions. So a little bit more on the psychology and emotions. If we can think more about the identity that we're trying to create, this person and this image that we have of ourselves further ahead, being healthier, fitter, stronger, happier, more confident in how you look and feel, we want to make more of our decisions based on that identity that we're trying to create. If you want to be leaner, fitter, healthier, stronger, then you need to actually challenge yourself regularly on the food choices you're making. Imagine someone with the body you want, or imagine you further in the future with the body that you want. To get that body, would they be eating like this if you're about to eat something that you know isn't on track? For example, if you're considering ordering a takeaway when you know that's going to take you further away from your goals. Would this version of you, who is in shape, happy, healthy, in control of their body weight, would that version of that person be eating in the way you are about to eat? Everything you eat is either going to take you closer or further away from your goals. So it's important to try to remember that absolutely everything you consume, this is an investment in the energy that you wish to live with each day. So it does take work and an ongoing commitment to exercise this level of self-control, but don't give up. This is something that you need to be constantly reminding yourself of. It's okay not to be perfect with this, but we need more awareness to continually remind ourselves of why this is important to you, and therefore that results in you making, on average, more decisions which align with your goals. So the top tip here, healthy habits and routines can simplify the decisions that you need to make. So if we can set up your day in a way which has you put in front of less challenging decisions, we can therefore limit your exposure to how many times you need to decide whether you're going to stay on track or whether you're going to start doing something which doesn't fall in line with your goals. So habits and routines, for example, preparing some food the night before for your breakfast, having some lunch that you can take with you, or understanding if you are going to eat out at lunchtime, what are the good options that you can choose around where you may be, and having those go-tos that simplify the decision-making process for you can help to limit your exposure to your challenges longer term. Okay, I hope that was interesting. That was a little bit more of a deep dive into some of the things which can affect your energy intake, and that is the end of part 3. So I'll see you guys in the next video.